My name's Sam Wapiana. This is Nick Meisner, and we're interviewing Jesse Cardens. So we're talking about basically how to take advantage of the GI Bill. How is everything going in your world, Jesse?
It is interesting. I don't know if you're aware, the VA passed a new law earlier this year that went into effect August 1st, where VA certifying officials are certifying students twice for all of their Chapter 33 classes. We go in and certify them once, and then after the drop period, we have to go back in and certify them again to say, yes, they're still in their classes.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
It has been interesting, yes.
What's the point?
Yeah.
I think it's to catch those students that would withdraw from classes after the drop or during the drop period. And that would then incur a debt that would have to be found later and run through the VA. And it saves them some paperwork on their end, and it adds more on my end. So.
Gotcha. Well, you kind of know what it's like to be in the Army then. Somebody else making their job easier, which then in turn makes your job harder. But.
Yes, that is the way of
it.
Jesse, if you want to take it away.
Sure. The first step, a lot of people think the first step is to apply for the GI Bill. And I would say the first step, even before you apply, is to check on the VA's website. That's www.va.gov. And use their GI Bill comparison tool to see, A, if you're going to be eligible, B, which benefit you're going to be eligible for, and C, how it's going to help pay for your classes.
Okay.
All of this sort of assumes that you have some idea of what program you plan to go into and what college you plan to go to, but you can take a look at different options there, and that gives you a good starting point at least.
Okay. So, and we should mention too that you're with Baker University.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely. Credit where it's due. So, would it be a good idea then to have your university picked out? Ideally, would you reach out then after looking into your eligibility, then reaching out to your university?
Yes. Okay. Every university will have at least one. Every university that works with the VA will have at least one school certifying official, which is what I do for Baker University.
Okay.
And I'm the Baker University SCO for all of Baker's programs, including the nursing programs in Topeka, the College of Arts and Sciences in Baldwin City, and the School of Professional and Graduate Studies, and the Graduate School of Education in Overland Park.
Wow, okay.
So I manage all that.
And that compensation is based off of like your active duty days, correct?
Generally, yes.
Okay.
I and no SCO can tell you exactly what you're eligible for. Okay. That is something the VA has to determine, and they will let you know when you apply for your benefits exactly what you are eligible for. We can give some general idea. Like we know if you're active duty, you might be eligible for tuition assistance. If you're a veteran, you're not. If you're a veteran, you probably want to look at that Chapter 33 post 9/11 GI Bill, or if you're a spouse or dependent, the Chapter 35 GI Bill. So we can give you an idea of where to start, but it's always going to be up to the VA exactly what you're eligible for.
Okay, I do want to throw in a question here then when we
Sure.
plan on. So obviously, with a lot of these benefits that veterans have, there's a lot of, you hear about one rule, but you don't know there's caveats. And then, so a big one, especially is these 9/11 or the GI Bill in general, excuse me. Mm-hmm. There's a lot. So one I had heard before is that your spouse or a child can use your benefit if you don't. Well, then I just heard you mention, it sounds like it does look different if the veteran themselves isn't using it, a family member is.
It can.
Okay.
So Chapter 33 is the post 9/11 GI Bill. It's now called the Forever GI Bill because they took away the delimiting date, so it doesn't expire anymore, which is great. That's fantastic. If you are still active duty, you can transfer your Chapter 33 post 9/11 GI Bill to a spouse or dependent. And they can then use your Chapter 33 benefits as if they were theirs. They'll have to apply for them even though you transfer the information over, because this is the military. They do everything in duplicate or triplicate.
They sure do.
And then they can use that benefit. Now, if you have used up your benefit, or if you aren't eligible for it, they may be eligible for their own benefit because of your service. That's not using your Chapter 33, but it's using their Chapter 35, which is the REAP, the dependents and spouses benefit.
Okay.
So yes, it's very complicated. And that brings me to one of the pieces of advice that I would love to give out to all of your listeners.
Please.
Ask questions. Ask questions of the school certifying official, ask questions of the VA, ask questions of your military educational liaison on base if you're active duty. We're here to help. There's a lot of this to navigate, and it's not easy. But we've all got some experience at it, and we're happy to help.
Good.
So for just anybody that's like not at Baker individual, like most colleges will have some sort of resource that they can go to, or
Right.
Okay.
Yes, most schools will have a school certifying official, or 2 or 3.
Okay.
And they can, the bigger the school, the more they'll have. And they can help with any questions that you have on getting started on the process. Also, they'll know the process for their individual school.
Okay.
And because every school is going to have their own paperwork in addition to the VA paperwork.
Okay.
At Baker, we have what's called a military supporting documentation form. It basically tells us, hey, I want to use these benefits. This is what I think I'm eligible for, when I plan to start, et cetera, et cetera. And we go from there.
Okay. So then going to the VA side of it, kind of easy, right? VA.gov. As much as it's a broad website, I have found it fairly easy to navigate, as we've addressed. I'm not super good with technology. So I'm always, when it's like a website I haven't been to and not familiar with using, I'm always curious, okay, how quickly can I get efficient amount of information? So VA, pretty good for anyone listening. VA is not bad. You just got to get on there and you got to navigate. As far as Baker's website, I poked around a little bit, pretty easy to at least I found, to get to where I could find contacts and ask questions. I'm assuming that, could you reiterate the title of what someone would be looking for?
School certifying official.
Okay, so that if they were to call, that's a title they can put out and say, I'm looking to speak to the school certifying official.
And they may want to specify school veterans certifying official, because otherwise the person that they're talking with might not know that's their title.
Okay.
For example, my title within Baker is Admissions and Veterans Specialist.
Okay.
I am also the school certifying official, but not everybody knows that exact terminology. So if you say you want to talk to the veterans specialist or the veterans veterans support group, anything like that, they'll get you in the right place.
Okay.
Can ask the right questions. And
yeah, I'm all about how do I even get to where I can take advantage of this?
Yeah, exactly.
That's half of the point of the podcast. So
yeah,
that's really good.
And again, it's gonna be a lot of information. They're gonna throw a lot at you in a very short period of time. So ask questions. I've got a number here that I can give out, that if you have questions about your benefit and you want to talk to somebody, you can actually call the VA.
That's a great number to have. We'd love for you to put it out. And
they want us to give this out to everybody. So I'm not breaking any rules here. I'm passing out the information like they tell us to. Sure. It's 1-888-442-4551. And that's going to get you to specifically the education portion of the VA, where they know everything there is to know about the GI Bill, about the Chapter 35 benefits, Montgomery GI Bill if you're still a Chapter 30 beneficiary, whatever you need, they'll have the information.
Awesome. Go ahead, Nick.
I was just kind of thinking of something like, say somebody's, starting school in August. How much time should somebody give themselves, like beforehand? Like, because I know I personally procrastinate. I'm trying to get better at that, but like I'm sure there's a lot of veterans out there that push the limit. When should they like really start in that process?
That is a great question, and one that I'm really glad you brought up. It takes 30 days from the time you submit your application to the time you receive your benefits information from the VA. So start it at least 2 months in advance.
Okay.
That gives you and the school enough time to get everything sorted out so that you have your certificate of eligibility, which tells you what percentage of benefits you're eligible for, how many months and days you've got, anything like that. And you'll have that in hand well before the semester starts, so you know what to expect.
Okay. I was just going to ask, when you say ask questions, if you got a couple good examples, because I know some people, myself included, if I was to come in, I'm a big question guy. It's probably evident already. I don't always have the right question to ask. So I like to, giving them an idea of what they should be asking when they reach out to these schools or the VA in general.
First, you want to find out if you're eligible for tuition assistance or VA benefits. And that's going to depend on whether or not you're active duty. If you're active duty, you're probably eligible for TA. If you're not, you're probably eligible for VA. Now, some students can be eligible for both, but we recommend against using both because that doesn't get you as much benefit. It kind of takes away your GI Bill time without giving you as much benefit because you're also getting benefit from the TA and you can't use them both exclusively.
Gotcha.
We also have students ask, can I use federal financial aid with my GI Bill? And yes, you can. Anything that you'd fill out the FAFSA for, any scholarships, loans, grants that you get from federal aid that are not military specific, work perfectly with the GI Bill. You can use them both and get the full benefits from both.
Okay.
We have students ask how long the process takes, which, as I said, it takes at least 30 days. I've never heard of it taking less than 30 days. And usually even more than that. So if you can get that process started early, that's great. You need to know which degree program you're going for because the VA will not pay for you if you're doing non-degree seeking or if you haven't declared a major. Okay. So you've got to have that up front. So you want to talk to a counselor at the school you're going to so that they can point you in the right direction. That's a few of the general starting questions that I hear a lot.
Okay. When it comes to talking to a counselor, because I want to get a good, I want to get a lot of clarity on the order of things. So obviously, as we said, picking out in your mind what you want to do, what school you want to go to, then talking to the VA, to discover your eligibility, then going to the school, it sounds like, and then doing your submission, which, as you mentioned, takes at least 30 days. Then once you're there, where you talked about bringing the school counselor, at least talking to them, is that something you might do after you make your submission, or would you wait until you're approved, which kind of makes sense to me?
I would say go ahead and get that process started as early as possible. Worst comes to worst, you're going to get notification that you're not eligible, but you'll have a degree and pathway picked out for yourself. That doesn't hurt anything.
That's right, because you said we need to have something declared. Speaking of the counselor before the submission. Okay.
So you can do it in either order, really. But while you're waiting those 30 days, that's a great time to talk to a counselor. Okay. And first of all, to find out that the school really does, in fact, have what you're looking for. It's a reasonable place to start. And then once you've talked to the counselor, then you know what path you're headed down.
Okay. Now, is any school going, or maybe really the other way around, if we're being honest, regarding government, is the VA going to work with pretty much any school, or are there some schools that are going to deny? I can think of one in particular that would probably deny any working with the VA. So,
as far as I'm aware, and I've only worked as a VA certifying official for Baker University, so I don't know this for a fact, but as far as I'm aware, any regionally accredited school, so like any school that's accredited by the Higher Learning Commission or HLC, that's accredited by the Southern Association of States and Colleges, anything like that, they're going to work with them. If they don't, it's because that school has not held up their end of an agreement with the VA. And so the VA has said, hey, we're not going to work with you until you get some issues worked out. Okay.
I had an issue with, granted, this is in the VA. This doesn't quite have to do with the GI Bill. It still has to do with government funding. Is the college I went to wouldn't take my student loan repayment because it was money from the government, and they don't accept any money from the government because then they can do 100% their own thing. And what I found odd was that this is money for services rendered by me. It's nothing to do with funding per se, and they still wouldn't accept it. And so that's where I didn't know if there would be that issue, if a school like that would have the same issue of, well, we don't care if the money comes from the government, we don't care for what reason, we're not going to accept it.
That sounds like a big red flag to me. I would be very leery of going to that school and expecting your benefits to work or expecting your credits to transfer to another regionally accredited school.
Okay. All right. So with kind of in line with where you were talking about asking the right question to ask, if that veteran approached you and was asking about sorting out their education that they wanted to pursue, what would be other advice aside from the question asking that you might give to them? And for that matter, it can really be any student coming to you sorting out their education.
Be prepared to put in the work. I've worked in higher education, not as a VA specialist, but in higher education for more than 10 years. And everywhere I've gone, it seems like the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. Whether that's classes, whether that's talking to counselors, whether that's doing homework, preparing paperwork, anything that you're going to do, the more effort you put in, the more you're going to get out of it.
And are there any resources like specifically for veterans that like maybe like they could go to like for like that group mentality or like some, something where they could go and learn those skills?
Yes.
Okay.
We have let me get to my email templates here. We have a salute to the National Honor Society established for student veterans and military and a student veterans organization here at Baker. Either one of those should be able to get you assistance in study skills, paperwork filling out, anything that you need.
Yeah, I think that's important for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
It's not a skill that we're all born with, It's not something that we've necessarily had a lot of practice with, and it's a complicated system. So get the experts, get them to help you.
I know for at least like I believe it's the post 9/11, it's depending on like active duty days and you might not get full 100% coverage.
Correct.
Is there any like, I don't know, scholarship that's not specific to just Baker or like that maybe that's like more specific for just veterans that they could go after if they needed more that you know of?
I don't have a lot of specialty with scholarships.
Okay.
I
didn't know if
that's more of our financial aid department, but I can tell you, fill out the FAFSA.
Okay.
The free application for federal student aid can get you access to scholarships, loans, and grants. I don't know that any of them are military specific, but they are all compatible with any GI Bill that you might have. So it's an excellent resource. Don't be afraid to use both.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, might as well do it all and just see what you get.
Absolutely.
So what if they wanted to change majors? Because that is not something that's foreign to many.
Yeah.
No, that happens a lot.
Changed it myself.
There's a form. Of course there is. Any school that you go to is going to have a change of major form. So you fill that out with them, and then you'll fill out the change of place of training form with the VA. And that just lets them know, hey, I've decided to change from going to business into English or what have you. As long as your classes from that point forward apply to your new degree, they'll continue to pay for them. And they shouldn't request repayment for other classes. They've already paid for those. They were for what you were going for at the time. They understand people change degrees. It's not that huge a deal for them.
Is it correct that you have to maintain a specific grade point average, or is it a grade in each course? Because they are kind of looked at, I would think of as separate investments each course.
It is, yes.
Okay.
It's that the VA will not pay for you to retake a class that you passed.
Okay.
So if you get a D in a class and that lowers your GPA for that school past what's considered academically acceptable, you can retake the class, but the VA won't pay for it again because you did technically pass it. If you fail a class, the VA will pay for you to retake that class.
Okay.
So as weird as it sounds,
yeah,
for VA students, we recommend failing rather than withdrawing.
We almost shouldn't have addressed that question, knowing what I was like as a college student.
They told me to fail.
So you're telling me not to get a D.
Yes,
Get any other letter. Okay.
Basically, yes. And feel free to edit this one out if you decide it shouldn't go in.
No, we gotta
But
be
yes.
honest. But yeah,
that is the case. It's weird, but it is the case.
Now, will the VA cut off, like, let's say you're being a bit egregious with your not getting a D. Is the VA going to cut you off?
Eventually, yes.
Where they're like, okay, man.
That's up to the VA to decide.
Okay.
So I don't have a specific hard cutoff that you can, fail 3 classes but not 4 or whatever.
Okay.
But I mean, I'll always try and do your best in your classes.
Right. Yeah.
Better your GPA, the better you're going to be. But know that you do have a little bit of grace period if something happens.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Sorry, Nick, I cut you off like twice. Please.
No. Yeah, we kind of talked about this, but what are like some success stories from veterans using your program?
Sure. Obviously, I can't give out specific names or anything because of federal FERPA privacy law, which is it gets a little fuzzy when you get into veteran stuff and school stuff. But basically, we've had a lot of students that go through our programs that have gotten from associates to doctorate. Some students have gone literally all 4 levels of program: associates, bachelor's, master's, doctorate with Baker. And they've used veterans benefits for at some or all of that. And they've all said that Baker is a great school to work with. They get a good return on their investment. They see the benefits of staying at one school for multiple degrees. I've gotten a lot of good feedback and very little bad feedback, which I'm personally fairly proud of.
Yeah, you should be, definitely.
What we don't have to go into crazy detail, but out of the negative feedback, was it stuff that seemed more like complaint, or was there some kind of founded issue that you could maybe tell somebody, well, if you do X, then you can avoid what this person went through?
Start the process as early as possible, and expect that the VA won't necessarily make their payments on the school's timeline.
Okay,
they will make their payment, and most schools understand this, especially schools that have been using the VA for any length of time. Okay. Baker does not penalize students for late payments when they're using Chapter 33 post 9/11 GI Bill, because we know they're going to pay when they get around to it. But you should be aware of that too when you're expecting your book stipend, your housing allowance, any additional benefit that you're entitled to. It's not necessarily going to come on your timeline. It's going to come on the VA's.
Okay. And I got one other question, unless
Sure.
Nick, you've got something.
Nope, you're good.
And so you were talking about an array of different things that obviously get funded. So I'm assuming that depending on how you qualify, most people are going to get roughly the same amount. And where I'm going with that is somebody who served 20 years, it's using the GI Bill, is going to get obviously X amount over someone that served 10, depending on active duty days. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, what about rank? Is rank going to affect any portion of that? Do you know?
As far as I know, no. Okay. Again, that's going to be up to the VA to make the decision. But as far as I know, it's all based on time served, not your rank in the military.
Okay. Well, that was a lot of good information. Yeah.
It really was.
It's been something I've thought about doing, still consider doing, going back to school or not. But those were all questions that I would have loved to have known probably 5 years ago when it's a more realistic thing.
Glad I can help, and I hope this helps your listeners. I hope somebody reaches out to me. My information's on our website. If you just search the Baker military page, you can find my contact info. I'm happy to answer any questions you got.
If you want to put your contact info out here, I don't have any issue with that. We're not owned by anybody. We do our own thing. So
we own
more
ourselves.
Than happy for you to put your information out there for people to reach out to you.
Sure. So the best way to reach me is by email.
Okay.
And that's Jesse, Jesse, .Cardens, CARDENS @bakeru.edu.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. You're a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. And and any listeners out there, we hope that you learned something, and if you've got more questions, now you've got some resources to get some answers.
Yeah.
Jesse, appreciate your time very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jesse.
We thank you for listening, and we hope you got something helpful out of this.
Right now, the best way to support us is to simply spread the word. If you know a fellow veteran who could use some resources to elevate their life, send them our way.
Until next time, remember to check your 0s, 5s, 10s, and 25s.